Well, we are back. Ah, how's Carmichael doing on the Golden Globes?
FBI jokes about King informants and more changes than Diana Ross. It's pretty good. Pretty
Oh,
good.
all right, because they're back. I'm totally excited that they've come back and back in a big way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think they got his jokes that he's only there for the $500,000 paycheck, but I did, and it was funny to me. He's brilliant, and I think they're gonna send the flowers probably to his grave, though.
Oh, okay. That's no good. Well, guys, don't send us any flowers. We're just going to keep rolling.
And the
Let's
best
go. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Val the voice.
Well, guys, welcome to Talk on Tuesdays. We've been talking through what's been happening via our TV because some of us are watching the Golden Globes. Let me go ahead and get some things uh, talked and shared with you guys. We're here every Tuesday. Talk on Tuesdays. We're here every Tuesday, and right now you can join us. And the great thing is that we are here. And I don't know why I'm blanking right now because I'm not looking at my script, so that definitely sucks.
No, it's
We
not the
are
first time, though.
we stream every week on YouTube, our Facebook private
As
group.
well
Thanks, guys.
as Pod TV, Roku channel, and we're happy to be there. Absolutely. There we are. Oh, I see us. Good. Take a break for inspiration and motivation.
Exactly. Uh, um, what's happening this weekend is starting, and every Saturday, it's the podcasting course. Find your voice, podcasting course for beginners. I'll be your instructor for that. And if you guys want to know how to get a podcast started and proper equipment to use, I am your girl. So, guys, that is what's going on for that. I am extremely excited because of some things that have been happening. We are in the second week of 2023,
Hmm.
and Michael, I felt like it was a good year for movies and television, and in fact, as I mentioned earlier, the Golden Globes, Gerard Carmichael is the host, and I think he's doing a great job. What do you think? You
I
maybe
agree that I think he's doing a great job. I don't think his audience appreciates him, which is, typical. But there are a lot of interesting things on there. I mean, I think this year has been kind of remarkable for a lot of things. It was a new year.
hmm
There was the I don't know went longer. I don't know what longer. Either the vote for Speaker of the House or Georgia against TCU, because they both seemed like they were never ending.
no.
Is Georgia still scoring on TCU? I don't know. I tried to turn away. It was like, I don't know, 49-7 or something, and they were
I
still
think
going. Did you see? Hey,
yeah.
did you see Queen Angela?
I was very, very excited for our queen, and that would be Miss Angela Bassett. This I didn't realize that she won the Golden Globe back in '94 for What's Love Got to Do with It. I know she was nominated for an Oscar as well as a Golden Globe, but I didn't know she won. So this is the second win. But she said in her speech, her acceptance speech, that this was the first time um, a first time winner for an act in acting from a superhero film or a film like a Marvel, like a Wakanda Forever. So that was history making in itself, which is phenomenal.
Well, makes sense because I mean, as you and I both noted about that movie, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, it is
Hmm.
really unlike any other kind of superhero movie in that genre. It takes on so many different aspects and so many things. Hey, hello, fam. All right, yeah, it takes on so much, and it's unconventional, and really it was one if we looked at the nominations, it's one of two pseudo kind of superhero movies that are nominated for Golden Globes this evening. There's also Everything Everywhere All at Once, which in a way is kind of like a superhero movie, has its
Kind
own
of.
metaverse sort of.
Yeah. And guys, that film already won the supporting actor won, Quan, who thanked Steven Spielberg in the audience because that was his opening role. And I got emotional listening to his acceptance speech because he said, I felt like it was all over for me. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, really? You felt like that? And so the filmmakers that gave him a chance, there were two filmmakers for Everything Everywhere All
The
at Once,
Daniels.
and the Daniels. And I have to say, Michael in the earlier in the year of 2022 said, Valerie, go see this film. And I was going like, okay, I can go see it, but it was such a treat. And I actually rewatched it not too long ago, Michael, and I love being thrown in that world. And I'm just thinking this was a great thing. This was a great thing as I grabbed these photos from what I just took earlier in the evening. But yeah, that's one of the I feel like that's one of the top films that came out of 2022. I know you have a list of movies that came out of
Yeah,
2022
but
that
you
you
said
like.
cry. You said cry, so I gotta say, before I mean, I certainly it was heartfelt, and there may be some really heartfelt things that happen throughout this kind of award show
Mhm.
season, which lasts for about a month and a half, goes into the Oscars. About a month away, the Spirit Awards, all these awards.
Mhm.
But I
Right.
gotta tell y'all, I'm all cried out from Sunday. I ain't got no more tears by
Why
here
you don't have no more
Tuesday
tears? Oh,
because
no.
last week we as a nation, as a viewing public in the world, we saw those of us that love sports, we saw a man's heart stop right in front of us on our screens. We saw him
Mhm.
fall to the ground and people rushed to try to take care of him, to administer medical care to him. Now, the medical care was powerful, but certainly that was not the only power working. So
Mhm.
that man who we saw, whose heart stopped beating, he is now awake. He is alert. He was texting and tweeting and Instagramming. He's back at home. It is amazing of what God can do. So we
Mhm.
are, as Interludes Extra Taco Tuesday, we certainly are among those people who are happy that Damar Hamlin is breathing, is smiling, and is among the living. And that, Val, I don't know if you watched the game at all. I don't know. Did you watch any football? If you did, great. If you didn't, here's what happened at the end of the game. They had
Okay.
a press conference, and the quarterback for the team, Josh Allen, said, and he is not someone who is demonstrative in his beliefs or anything like that, but he said when 1 minute into that game, when they kicked the ball off, Val, the Buffalo Bills caught the ball and the men ran it back for a touchdown, and that not had not happened in years. That had not happened. Okay, and he said, and
Wow.
he turned to his teammate and he said, God is real.
And let the church say amen
And
in
it was,
sports.
and anybody that saw that, and we'll get Coach Tony on, of course, later in
Mhm.
this, in tonight, hopefully. Um, that was an amazing thing, and I don't think there's
Mhm.
anybody. I mean, we watched for the last week. We've seen some of the biggest, strongest grown men crying. I mean, it is a thank you, love for Damar, absolutely, yes, yes, yes. And it was just, I mean, I appreciate these people winning these awards and getting acknowledged for their artistic creativity and all, but that was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think I
I
can top that. I don't think the thing's gonna top that tonight. All right, sorry. I mean, thank you,
well,
Carla. Yes, yes.
mhm. Yeah, and I like how Kevin said hashtag God is real. This is
That's what Josh Allen said
mhm, and the thing of it is that
on his way
football
to the
is
Super
we
Bowl ring.
love the sport. A lot of us love the sport, but think about it. It is one of the most dangerous sports, even with all the protective covering on. And I
And we did a
just to
great
kind
job
of
of talking about that last week
mhm,
with Coach Mark on here. I
exactly.
mean, God, we have some great guests, huh?
Oh my gosh, do we? Do we definitely have some great guests, and Coach is going to have another great guest on a little bit later, but definitely, I'm all I'm saying is that um we it's very I just saw someone's son. That's all I saw. A lot of people are thinking, oh gosh, is the game going to go on? Is this going to happen? And like there were a lot of thoughts that were being happened, but ultimately it was this is a young man who I've never met. And I found myself praying because I'm thinking this is he had only been what is it, 2 years? What has he been in the league for what, 2 to 3 years? He's just started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is
Hmm.
relatively. He's a new player. A
Hmm.
lot of things have come out. He's on a new deal. His deal is going to expire. What's the team going to do in
Hmm.
terms of things? They certainly say that they're going to take care of him and honor his deal and probably watch his recovery real closely. I mean,
Wow.
because if he's capable of this, my goodness, what else is he? Certainly capable of. And as he said himself, as he said, through his texts and messages, through family, I'm being used for something greater, right? And
Hmm.
this young man
Hmm.
is at least, clear headed enough to understand that. The fact that he is still with us, he is being used for something greater. That charity we talked about last week, last feels
Yeah.
like last year, it was this year.
How
But
much how
last
much
week
money? How much money I'm
went to
afraid to
eight,
ask.
$8 million, $8 million.
Wow. Hey,
Amazing.
Mark. Oh my
Hey,
gosh.
say it for Durham, NC,
Whoa,
Carolina.
8 million? Because I think it was 5 million
It
last
was,
week.
right, it was 5 million last
Oh my
Tuesday, now it's 8,
gosh.
went up to 8. I mean, people are just still that's the way that they're able to show. I mean, they can't come to his hospital bed, now he's back in Buffalo. They can't show it in another way, so they're passing along that love to help other people in greater need than he is at this point. And
Wow.
that's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. He's saying hello from Durham, NC. Well, hey, you know what? We've been talking about some of the awesome things that have happened in this. Certainly, it's been a remarkable 2 weeks to start this year. There was something that was certainly saddened me this morning and kind of shook me. Happened earlier in the week, not necessarily this morning, but yesterday, and that happened
Okay.
in place where I was, very close, not that far from Durham, neighboring state, just north of there in Virginia.
Mhm.
Val the Voice. I don't know if you heard about this story. It was happened in a Newport News school. And I used to live in Newport News school,
Mhm.
where a child, a 6-year old, was arrested and taken in by the police because the 6-year old brought a gun to school and shot his teacher.
Okay. Wow.
So the teacher, is alive. She was able
Mhm.
to shield herself, She got her whole class out of the room. Someone ran into the room and kind of subdued this child and got the weapon away from him. Now, it gets even kind of curiouser because the weapon apparently was purchased legally by the child's parent, mother in this case. Um,
Wow.
and he apparently was able to get it out of the house, put it in his book bag, and take it to school.
And he
So,
knew how to use it. That's the
and that's
other
the thing that that's
r
what the police are wondering about. Newport News police, whom I used to
mhm,
deal with, kind of along with my coworkers. And I can tell you there are lots of things at work, but I did hear the police chief this morning on some national broadcasts, and he seems at least level-headed. He
mhm,
started down this road and he caught himself, and I applaud him. Okay, so a lot of times people have negative things about the police. I got to applaud him for this one.
right,
He began to
right,
talk about the case, and he said, and we had to go in and we had to get that young man, and he stopped himself and he said, "Excuse me, that child, he's not a young man, he's a child." And that's how
mhm,
we're looking at this, and
right.
the fact that this is something.
Very disturbing.
It's very disturbing because
Very.
by all of the things that we would normally say, well, this must have broken down, well, that must have broken down. God was purchased legally. It was in the house legally. Now, was it stored well? Possibly not. Should the kid had access to it? Absolutely not. How
No.
did the 6-year-old use it? How did the 6-year-old know how to use it? And certainly there are people, families that take their kids out hunting and fishing, and you may have kids around that age or a little bit older, 8, 10 years old, and they know how to use it. So you can only hypothesize perhaps some of the realistic, single and dual player shooter games are allow, accuracy or allow people to simulate how to do that. But the child was able to do this. He is alive, thankfully. The
Oh,
teacher
wow.
is alive, thankfully. No one
Mhm.
was, irreparably injured in this. But I certainly talking about, pray for that teacher as well as that 6-year-old because they're both gonna need it.
Yeah, and that's very hard to hear, and just I feel like a lot of the gun laws in this country just has to change. Before I don't wanna stay on that too much longer, but I do wanna mention this, and just it's yeah, Mark is mentioning a lot of stuff in the chat, and I definitely don't wanna go in that direction, but this coming up, I feel like if more of our children, or if more of our teachers would we if we learned about um, King, and this is his actual birthday is coming up, and then the celebration of the honor of honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It happens every third Monday in January. He was an advocate for nonviolence,
Yes.
and for definitely for civil rights. A lot of civil rights that we are able to take advantage of in this country right now, it's because of his legacy and what he's done. And I don't know if shootings with children was happening in the 50s and 60s when
Hmm.
he was doing what he did
Hmm.
via being an advocate for civil rights, and being an advocate for human rights. But it's just very disturbing, and I feel like if we taught about leaders like him, and taught about what the struggle has been,
Hmm.
I feel like, will we be really going for guns? I don't know,
I,
and
I I don't.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's really interesting you say that because and certainly we can ask Coach Tony about it. He has a similar
Mhm.
kind of background and experience. But when you talk to younger people,
Mhm.
I think they understand what they are able to do. I think they kind of understand their status and what they're able to accomplish now, but
Mhm.
don't understand that this is new. Okay.
Right.
So
Mhm.
you and I, Val, and Coach Tony, we are of the generations, plural. I said plural, generations that
Mhm.
at least have some kind of, we could reach back. There were people around us who remember when you couldn't. And they would tell us, hey, you couldn't. You didn't used to be able to. And I had a talk with our dean of students earlier this week, and he says that's one
Mhm.
of the things he works with the young people he's around who play basketball and also track. And he's constantly feels like he has to remind them, hey, you want to attend this school? You got a scholarship opportunity here. Did you know that up until so and so, you couldn't go there? You couldn't.
Yeah.
Now you can. Because I
Yeah.
believe that one of the things happened with King, and I don't know if it's a great comparison, but in a way, we're kind of spoiled now. Now, not all of us
Mhm.
think we got it hard, like individually, like our life is the hardest life in the world. I understand.
Right.
I get it. I
Right.
feel the same
Mhm.
way too, many
Mhm.
times.
Mhm.
However, it's almost like here. Can I give you an example? You see some of these movie stars things we were talking about with the Golden Globes, right?
Okay.
Like their lives are changed forever. They have generational wealth, right?
Mhm.
Right? Even like a Quinta Brunson with Abbott Elementary. If she never does anything else, just those 2 seasons of that show, if she lived, a frugal life, she'd be cool, right? No, I'm serious. I mean, think about it.
Exactly.
You ain't got to
Mhm.
play in the NBA for 10 years. You get 2, 3 good years in the NBA, and if you do it right the right way, you set. And your kids should be set too, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, if you do
Mhm.
it the right way. I mean, the people that didn't, we know their stories. But if you do it the right way, you should be cool. Man, this is those kids. They don't know what it was like to come up the same way she had to come up, or the same way Angela Bassett had to come up. Her kids probably had it pretty good, right? Between
Mhm.
Angela and Courtney B. Vance, her kids probably had a nice time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
And the
Angela probably caught it, right?
right, exactly. And
Angela Bassett remembers when there was no MLK holiday. Okay,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
remember that. You remember that. Coach Tony remembers that. But these kids, they just had a day off. They got a day off in January. And if you don't take the time and talk to them and go through it with them and explain to them why it is, what happened, and how they got to stay vigilant or else things could throw back, you know, they're going to miss it. They're going to miss it. I see you. Val, what you doing?
I brought on Coach. You mentioned him
Where's
twice,
the
so I said, "Let
music?
me bring him on."
Yeah, but where's the theme music?
Oh, the
Drop
theme
it,
music is
drop it
coming. The
back.
theme music is coming, but we was talking about something serious.
Oh, stealth. Oh, stealth. I'm looking down. I'm like, I know who that is. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a
But
second. Coach, what you got to say about that?
man,
Tell me I'm
I
wrong.
think
Tell me I'm
I
right.
think I think you're so right. The funny part about it is, Mike, I just had that conversation last Wednesday with a friend of mine talking about the exact same thing you spoke about. I mean, even up to recently, you and Val know. I mean, not until a few decades ago, just the last state to really adopt a holiday in Phoenix, Arizona. You
Oh,
know, and
and don't get me started on Arizona. Yeah, okay.
exactly.
Okay,
But but
yeah.
but but we were way past Martin Luther King's prime, and you know what I mean. And and I just talked to someone the other day, and I was saying that wow, it's interesting how the what Val just said on that Monday. I remember as a kid having to sit down and listen to that entire speech. You know, Mama, Grandma wouldn't let you move from the table. You had to know certain things about
Hey,
it. You know,
WGCI
homework.
would play it, or
Yeah,
Of
VMX.
course, of
yeah,
course.
They would
yeah.
play it.
Hey, Hey, BMX GCI throw that house music with it. You know, I have a
Yes, they
dream.
did.
Right?
I used to love that. Yes,
I
yes.
loved it. And then they changed it. And I was like, man, that made Farley Funky keep the man. He's already the Godfather, you
Yes.
know. And now you get, and sadly enough, as you just said, Mike, now you get maybe a blurb and people taking a holiday just for granted, just to have a day off, and just completely, just completely doing away with the meaning of what it actually stood for, and what our forefathers did. Because you and me and Val would be sitting on this podcast tonight without
Right.
those people before us taking those lumps, those bruises, and there probably wasn't a lot of kids being shot back in the day, not like that. There probably was on our half, but it wasn't done the same way. It was.
Anyway.
I happened to look at that white American woman in the wrong way, and all of a sudden, that night somebody was knocking at my daddy's door. So we don't have to worry about those things. But the hard part I don't like about it is that the government wants to change so much, but they never make a move to change that and keep that institutionalized because it changed. And that speaks more to your territory of what's being taught in the schools nowadays.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, with the so look, I two things real quick on with terms of working, and one with working and one with schools. I worked in Virginia. I see Mark Lee. Mark Lee may know this from the Virginia being there close to North Carolina. But in
Mhm.
Virginia, up until recently, that Monday was a holiday, that third Monday in January, but you could choose to honor it by either saying as a state employee that I'm taking it off for King, or I'm taking it off for Lee, Jackson Lee, to honor one of the two great Confederate generals. So they
Wow.
took that holiday and they sliced it in half. It's like, if you want to honor King, that's fine. But if you also want to honor our great Confederate generals from Virginia, you can do that as well. So they, I mean, so they, the idea is you were still off, but they still wouldn't give him his props. And it's not just King. It's not, we say King because he is the face of that movement, but it's not just him. It's
Right.
it's Rosa Parks. It's
Ralph
Ella
Abernathy.
Baker. It's
Brother Ralph
Raynard
Abernathy.
Russet. Right.
Jesse Jackson.
It's A. Philip Randolph. It's
Right.
all of these people who were active. It's you mentioned somebody almost dying for it. It's John Lewis.
Yep.
Getting his head bashed in, crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It's all of that. It's all of that. It's not just this one man. It's just that
Mhm.
we were able to talk about it through the actions of this one person. And that was the best vehicle that we had to honor the civil rights movement and the great work of Stevie Wonder and the wonderful song he penned that to this day people play on their birthday.
Right.
All of that. It took all of that to get
Mhm.
through. So when I see a 14-year-old just say to me, I got the day off, I'm gonna sleep in and then chill. It's like, you going, what?
You
For
just want to
what
beat the hell out of
now?
them. You don't want to be.
Yeah, but then, coach, when I'm at a school, an institution, and that institution takes that day off and says nothing either prior to or after that holiday, just acts as though it's just another day off, then I have a problem with that too.
Right.
Now I don't have a problem like I'm gonna criticize you and talk about you. That's not constructive. It means like, okay, I got to take some action. I got to take some initiative. I got to step up. And I hope that we all still in some ways feel that way. I know it's asking a lot. I understand it's asking a lot. You get the victory, and even after you get the victory, you still got to keep working. You still got to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
working, and
And,
it's hard. It can be hard,
Mhm.
but you can't stop because there are other generations, and the farther we get removed from the 60s, the 70s. Goodness, we were still making breakthroughs in the 80s and 90s. Look, we still making breakthroughs in the 2020s.
In 2020s, we definitely
uh,
are. Hello, we just
that's
elected
why.
our first woman vice president.
Right.
Hello,
They
There you
passed
go.
an anti-lynching law last year.
last
Right.
year.
Oh, excuse
Yeah.
Yeah.
me, in 2023, a year and a half ago. What?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
and
Are you kidding?
Mark Lee says that Malcolm and the Black Panthers need a holiday too. Marcus Garvey, Booker T. Washington, and
I was talking
W.E.B.
about
Du
Marcus
Bois.
Garvey earlier today because Marcus Garvey, there's this wonderful quote from Marcus Garvey, and he
Hmm.
is someone that thankfully our Congress people are kind of coming back to because he kind of got railroaded
Uh-oh.
and
Mm.
caught up in tax evasion that may or may not have happened. It's amazing. So you can accuse a black man of tax evasion and send him away, but somebody else evades their taxes and they can become president. Anyway, so
But speaking of history, I want to, as we get into sports, me, you, and Val always talking about HBCUs and black colleges. In my back door, I want to go hats off, and as we need to come up. Me, you, and Val need to come up with like this award of the week that we start to honor like these
Oh, I like that.
HBCUs. Special on.
Oh,
And I'll kick it off this week. My hat goes off for my special story goes off to none other than Coach Kareem Tarver and the
okay.
Fisk University gymnastics team,
Whoop,
the
whoop, whoop.
first HBCU to compete against the big boys out in Las Vegas last week. And they
Wow.
are a HBCU, small of the small schools, but they got a 5-star recruit by the name of Morgan Price, who
yeah.
just killed it on the vault and came up with a 9.9 versus the Power Five. So my hat goes off. Fisk University, Coach Tarver, keep doing what you're doing. And we're looking forward to seeing some more big things come out that program.
Wonderful. Now I think we should play the theme.
Man, I was jamming with that. Hey, I'm like Mike. I threw that on in the earpiece the other day. I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah. Hey,
Get
coach,
back in
Nice.
my
coach,
earring.
coach Tony, Coach Tony,
What's good?
is Georgia still scoring on TCU? Is that
Oh
is
Man,
that
no.
are they, is another touchdown coming?
the last time I checked, it was a runaway train, man.
What was wait, it got to like 104. It was like, I mean, did they ever get stopped scoring, or did the game just end in mercy?
And the funny part about it, Coach Kirby at halftime talking about we wasn't aggressive enough. What? You was up 37-7 at halftime. You wasn't aggressive enough. What? And then, oh man, that was
Hey,
nuts.
for
I
what
said the
it's
real
worth, for what it's
championship game.
worth, yeah,
The,
yeah. Go
the
ahead.
real championship game was the Ohio State game against them. Unfortunately, but Mike, it goes back. I know I know some of my SEC guys on here that's looking at me when we've been fighting all week long. But again, this will not, my personal opinion, balance itself out until college football stretch out to the Elite Eight. We have the Elite Eight because then
Well,
I just got to be better than you just one
well,
night.
I think we would have got a better game with Georgia and Michigan. What do you think?
Yep, got a better game, and we would have had a much better game if we would have had them ranked the correct way. And Ohio State would have never lost this position where it shouldn't have lost it. Then you've been sitting up at Ohio State, and a Georgia game from now championship game possibly come down to the same thing. No seconds on the clock and a field goal one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to Georgia, and shout out to if they're watching or if they ever see this to the Kimbers, people I went to high school with. They got a son there on the Georgia team. I learned recently, um, but they, that's a championship team. However, it would have been nice to see them get tested. I don't know if that level earlier. I mean, I appreciate the semifinal, but I'm not sure that worked out the way, as you
But
said.
did you see what the announcer said at the game Saturday night? I mean Monday night. They Georgia has nothing but 4 and 5-star recruits. And you got to stay a college football team. Val, I don't know if you know or not, but a college football team at the D1 level, that level, has 154 kids, 150, 154 kids. And TCU only has 15 total on the entire team. That's 4 or 5
There's,
athletes.
there's there's only so much try hard can do, right?
Right, right,
Okay, all right. So coach, here, let me throw something else at you, quickly, before we move on. Speaking of coaches, Lovey Smith. First, as a Bears fan, thank you, Lovey. Thank you so much, Lovey.
right.
But I am sorry that you had to sacrifice your job for doing the right thing. And I mean that in every way possible. As a Bear fan, I appreciate what Lovey did. Lovey
Yep.
Smith was the former head coach of the Houston Texans. And I don't know, he coached his team up to win. And they did. And they won their very last game against a Just Saturday. So that was special to me to see Just Saturday lose that game. But
Yeah.
Lovie Smith, a real coach, a coach who has taken his team to the Super Bowl, a coach that has coached on both the collegiate as well as in the NFL, wins his game and is summarily fired.
Yeah.
Coach, coach. I mean, talk to me.
You know, first of all, how can you fire Black Santa Claus?
I know, right after Christmas. Well, he delivered your presents, and now you just 86 him.
First of all,
Come on,
ain't nobody
man.
getting no toys for Christmas next year, man. But
I
the
didn't.
crazy part
Houston,
about it, like you
Texas.
said, you know, you come up off the Bears to the University of Illinois. They let him go too early at Illinois. Then, of course, they made their way back. He fights his way back to the NFL. I think that, from that very first game, Mike, the one man you talked about when he should have went for the win and he went for the tie. So forth. I think they just, they question, was this a good fit for the Houston Texans all season with Lovey? If he would have maybe got them close to the playoffs. And the hard part about that, you're
No,
fighting in a division
no,
with
no, no, no. David Mills was playing his mind out this year. Are you kidding me?
I
Okay,
know,
they lost games, but they were losing games the same way the Detroit Lions were losing games early in the season.
right. But
It
the line
wasn't
got
because they
hot.
weren't trying. I mean, they were doing everything they possibly could. They break
Right.
through in the last game of the year, Val, the voice, and this is what happens. Why I'm picking him as a Bears fan, Val, is this. The Bears lost their game because, I mean, they played it, so they lost it. And then the Houston Texans played the Colts. The Colts are a better team on paper, have a better record, and really should have won the game. But the Texans did not stop, and Lovie Smith coached that team to the very end. They
Yep.
win the game, and Val the Voice, because of their win, Houston moves from being the number one team in the NFL draft to number two. The Bears leap over them, and now the Bears have the number one pick in the NFL draft. Houston was hoping to get that pick. Its owner, who was on the sideline, was hoping to get that pick. And when they lost that pick, they fired Lovie Smith.
Yeah,
Now the
which is
problem
crazy.
is this. The problem is this, Val the Voice, and some of you that don't know sports, Coach Tony knows this for sure. This is the second year in a row they have fired a black coach who only coached 1 year.
Yep.
Is
Why
it
would Coach Coney, would you go to a job where you saw the last two people consecutively were fired after only 1 year?
No, no, no. Unless you give me a stone cold contract that I know I'm going to be there for a minute.
Who's going to want to go to Houston?
Exactly.
I
And
know I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't.
and the thought process behind that, Mike, is the owners are scratching their heads saying, like, wait a minute, did he try to win this so that the Bears can get this? Basically, all that behind the scene crap going on anyway.
Who cares? Look, I thought we went into this last year in Miami with David Flores, and the fact that he's like, they told me to lose because they wanted the draft pick, and all the owners had to rally around like, we would never do that. We play to win every single game. Well,
Oh, I
here's the
don't pay
man who
attention to them
actually
no more.
played. Hey, I don't either, because here we saw it, right? They actually won the game. That coach fit that team. He motivated people that had no business trying to win in doing that. In any other space, that's a Disney movie. Okay, that's an amazing story of personal spirit and self respect and all of that. But here, oh, we got to let you go. Who are
Yeah.
they gonna bring in next year?
Yeah, I don't know, but it won't be one of us. I can tell you that.
I hope it's not. I mean, even Stephen A knows that. I mean, few things
Right.
I agree with him, but there you go.
So he
But
was
I
only
said,
given 1 year to
1
and
year
1 year. I
with
mean,
one of
and
the
he's
worst
already
teams
had
in
a
the
winning. He
NFL.
already had a winning background with other
yeah,
teams, including the Bears.
Yeah,
that's the
we'll give
business
you
of
a
Camp
year with this
University of
team.
Illinois. Yeah, he went from the Bears
Jeez.
to college back to the pros.
And Val, they gave the previous coach only 1 year too to turn it
Right.
around. I'm sorry. And then
Not
I forgot to mention, we're gonna get rid of your best player is gonna run into a scandal where we have to just get rid of him and eat his whole contract.
Well, you forgot the other piece of that though too, Mike. You got to be out. It's like playing in the NFC North. The other piece to that is they're playing in my division with the Titans. They're playing in my division with the Colts and Jaguars. So it ain't like they got an easy cakewalk because we was picked to, the Titans were picked to run it all. And obviously they did on a 7-game losing streak down the stretch. And Coach Vrabel's still around, and everything else.
I was gonna leave. I was gonna be nice to you. I wasn't gonna mention the
I
Titans.
know.
But,
Exactly, but I got to take it. I got to take a hit, but that
okay.
becomes rough on that situation. So I get it, but hey, listen, let's flip the script and bring in. You talking about a coach and coaching, and we got to salute to the salute. My good friend, this guy, Val and Mike. I gave a long list of accolades, bringing on guest stars and people into the show and all this, but this young man's been an NBA scout. He led the entire nation, Mike, in scoring in basketball back in my day, 85, 86. Then he's the all-time leading scorer for Cal Santa Cruz. This guy is writing a brand new book that me, you, and Val and Kevin got to push this book out there. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Author, mentor, consultant. Let's bring on Coach John Saintignon from Cal by way of Japan. He's taking time for us 15 hours ahead of his schedule. And he's taking time for us this morning. That goes to show you what we doing.
Okay.
And coach, as of right now, I did not see him in
Uh-oh.
the studio, so he still might be hanging around Japan, caught up with bad internet. I don't know.
Let me see here.
Okay, so we'll.
Yeah. We didn't. We
That was
don't
such a
see
great
him.
intro. He did like a
Yeah.
Steve
No,
Harvey
I
intro,
was.
wasn't it?
I was waiting for him to magically appear. I'm checking with Val. Like, you got him because I don't. I mean, maybe in Tokyo. I mean, that's a wonderful city, I'm told, and some
Mhm.
amazing things happen there. What we got here? We got somebody. As we're looking for that, we got to come in here. Aaron Rodgers should coach. It's from here's a comment. It says Aaron Rodgers should be done. It's Jordan Love time. Great QB.
I believe that, but and I just saw this other comment a minute ago, which is never going to happen. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. That ain't going to happen.
That's not
Obviously,
gonna happen. Okay.
Cincinnati versus Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl.
Okay,
That's
so
going to
so
happen.
more likely you got this. You think that Aaron Rodgers, you think this is his swan song, that he didn't want to exchange jerseys because he needs to put that one up and frame it. That's what's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, he needs to. But Mike, you and I know as well as that go, he's not going to hand Jordan Love that over. Why? Because he had a very difficult time getting that ball handed and put in his hand with none other than Brett Favre left. Right.
Yeah, Brett Favre finally had to lead the NFL to go
Right.
become a
Favre.
welfare cheat.
Correct. Come be a welfare cheat back in our back door. Oh, by the way, they're not going to talk about that. They just want to let Dion get out of state, right?
Oh yeah, let's just keep talking about Dion negatively. Let's not talk about Brett Favre stealing money from the government and poor people. What? I'm
Right.
sorry. What happened? Hmm.
So,
But
yeah, so it's nuts. But the crazy part about it is, it's Jordan Love time. I think so. But, unfortunately, he's going to have to probably set another year. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is done. I think that he was waiting on Tom Brady to clear the house to go ahead and retire.
And you
And
think
then,
you
so,
think Green Bay is just gonna ride him out until he comes out in a walker? And he
man,
and he, and he's
I think that Aaron Rodgers has become a gangster up there. He is Suge Knight in Green Bay.
he said he wasn't though, Coach Tony. He
I know.
said I'm not gonna hold him hostage. He said I'm
Hey,
not gonna hold him hostage.
and Suge Knight said, I ain't know what happened in Vegas too, didn't he?
Suge Knight also said, I never held Vanilla Ice out that window. What are you talking about? That's urban legend. And Vanilla
Right,
Ice said, no comment.
right.
so,
No,
coach, you can do
Comment.
your intro again because I now see
Wait, hold on
him.
a second, hold on a second.
Oh wait.
Unless you see something different.
I see something. Oh,
Oh,
wait.
there
Okay,
we
he's
go.
coming. Okay,
Here
there you
we
go.
go.
All
All
Here
right,
right,
bring
we
it
coach,
on
do
in.
your
go.
intro.
There
Let's
we
get it
are.
back. Now we got it. Now we cooking with grease now. Like I said,
That's
my
right.
personal friend, Coach John Saintignon, taking time all the way from Japan, all the way up coast of California. Man led the entire country in scoring back in 85, 86. All-time lead scorer at Cal Santa Cruz. I mean, this guy's an author. He's got a brand new book coming out. I can go on and on and on and on, but we're going to get him on here so we can get these questions rolling, have some fun tonight. Let's hit it, baby.
Hey, first of all, everybody, it's great to meet all of you. Just in the background, listening to you guys having a good time, man. So I'm here to help however I can. Whatever you guys need, fire away, man.
Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Coach John.
All right. Well, that's good,
Hi,
man. From
coach.
Wamble, man, you got this thing down.
Konnichiwa.
Hi, coach.
Hey, Coach, first of all, thank you for taking time. It's in the morning. I'm telling Val and Mike, getting up in the morning while we about to lay our heads down, you getting up ready to get your day started. I know.
Yeah, it's already the future out here, man. So, I can tell you what the day's going to be like already.
Oh, yeah. But tell them some, with the background, get a fans out here. This is Interludes Talk on Tuesday with none other than the upper left Val, the voice of my main man, Mike Wamble, and of course me, moving the show by leaps and bounds and all that. And get the people a little bit of your background and how you kind of got out of the States over to Japan.
So, I began as a college student, just like back in the 80s, and got lucky. I had blinders on. There was no social media, no cell phones, none of that stuff existed yet. So by me leading the country in scoring, I didn't even know really what that meant. All I know is that back then your publication was in like Street and Smith magazine, and
right, Smith.
So that's how, people would just look and see. And so I got lucky after my college day to get an opportunity to play in the Los Angeles Summer Pro League. And at that time, that was the only show in town. That was where all the teams came because they were trying to build their free agencies or draft picks or whoever they could and play together, much like it is now in the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And again, I was just very, very lucky that somebody took a chance on me, saw me play from another country, and offered me an opportunity to continue a dream. Had no idea what it was going to be. My whole life being raised, I was adopted as a child. So my adopted parents always had the basis was you're going to have an education no matter what. You can choose anything you want in life, but that education is going to be first and foremost. And so it was taught at an early age, to respect the game, meet as many people as you can. And eventually what it became was a tool. It was just a tool to get an education. And to this day, that's still what it is. It's still a tool. Now I'm at a professional level now, but after I finished playing, I decided, that I would venture eventually into the world of coaching and try to see if I could, skeptical at first because I didn't know if I could transfer my knowledge to somebody else, and expectations of, conceivably how simple it is to put the ball in the basket.
Right.
And, it's not simple. So, but for me, I just knew that I had to carve out time. I'm not 6'8". I didn't jump out of the gym. I didn't do any of those things. I just had to have a fighting instinct and learn that if I did get an opportunity to shoot the ball, the goal was to make it, not to take shots. Right. And I think a lot of players today will see a 3-point line, stop immediately behind it and shoot it. And the goal is to make the basket, not to just attempt the shot. So that concept, as I grew, I got lucky and got to be a coach at a high school level, and then moved on to what is now the Pac-12 conference. It was back then it was the Pac-10.
Pac-10, right.
And got that experience at that highest level to now see the inner workings of the business side of basketball. and then
Wow.
move on to being a head coach on my own in a multitude of countries. I've been all over the world. And the expectation level is still, do you want to be a transactional coach or a transformational coach? And a lot of people talk about just winning games and being, holding this title. I won, and I always wonder, I was like, that's it? That was, what's next? It's nice to host this, but I want to be transformational. I want to know that the purpose of me being a coach for some reason is to change someone's life somehow through that sport, or through some meeting of some other person, or some relationship somewhere. I just don't ever want to go through life just going through like, yeah, I won 500 games. Who cares? But did I change some young man's life to think, winning and losing basketball is just like praise and criticism. They're both imposters. You're not as good as people say you are. You're not as bad as people say you are. You're just a work in progress. Do you love it? Do you enjoy it? Because it's still a game. And I'm not sure if today, like, I can't necessarily equate to what today's athletes deal with, because they're so in tune with who wants to click like. And I mean, they will scroll. I mean, I should have studied sociology in college, because I'm fascinated by that art. I'm fascinated by it, because I observe immediately how the attraction is to the phone. And I get it, it's individual. You get to just do whatever the heck you want on your own. But the other side of that is, do you want to, how do you have an interaction, and what is it that I put out there in the world that's going to change someone else's life? I don't really know if they do any of that, because let's say the average lifespan of a human today is now 80. You're not going to play basketball that long,
right?
Or any sport that long.
Right.
And the past decisions you made are definitely going to affect the future decisions, future endeavors you go into, and for example, like many young guys, I tell them, you have a girlfriend, you have a wife, whatever they have now at this professional level, just go ahead and ignore that for a while. Find out what that's going to be like. That decision you make is going to have repercussions in your next discussion. It's the same in all these areas that I'm trying to say, not just winning and losing a darn basketball game, but to them, it's like the whole world's paying attention. Who's paying attention? Absolutely, probably nobody. One, maybe a few people are.
Well, Coach, we're paying attention to you, and we're so happy that you're here to join us. I had thrown up there, for people that don't know, you're UC Santa Cruz's all-time leading scorer. You once led D1 scoring, period. And you have become kind of an ambassador for the game. Can you tell us, we're meeting you today in Japan, as you mentioned, you're ahead of us. What led you to Japan? What's going on there, and what do you see? What's your future like?
So the to go into professional basketball, has a lot of interesting aspects to it. I started it with my young family. My two sons and my wife would join me, and we would go. Ultimately, if we rewind a little bit, when I married her, I said, I don't know, somehow, some way, basketball is going to be in my future. I don't know if I can provide you wealth and riches, but what I can give you is an adventure.
Right. That's a nice way of putting it.
Enjoy the ride.
I don't know. I'm sure Val would be the only one that can attest to that. But I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know, but. So we went on these journeys and we took it as such. Now, the pressure of winning basketball games in other countries, as soon as you lose a game, they want to fire somebody. And it's it's a hot-headed mentality. It's immediately I got to win. And they don't see the totality of the longevity of a season. Okay, comes and goes with the territory. So you live with it. But all along that journey, we were on it as a unit, going and seeing adventures and learning different languages. And I was knowing that my future in this game was to transform, but also to make sure that my sons acquired knowledge from other countries, that they could see life on their own terms. We were once in the Middle East, in the Kingdom of Bahrain. I had no idea. Wow. I'm an educated guy, but I had no idea where that was. It's a little speck of a country. I had no idea. I got an opportunity to coach there. We took it, but I didn't know at that time, like Sunni, Shia, what does that mean? In the United States, that's evil. It's trepidation. And I get there and it's just two separate philosophies.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And two separate ways of doing things. Eating on the floor with your hand is customary there. The others would use a fork and a different type of cloth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Still love children, still love their families, still talk about all the things that are still the same. The religious aspect between Muslim, Christianity, once it's broken down, you see it's got a lot of similarities.
Abrahamic faith. Yeah, absolutely.
Just amazing. Mm-hmm. And so now, if you appreciate the fact that you hear the concept of stopping for prayer and listening 5 times, okay, as a concept, it's like really a great idea. Take time and reflect. Beautiful. How's it said? It's a scripture reading essentially from the Quran, but it is really from the Grand Mosque, comes out like musical poetry. It's unbelievable. I would sit there and just be in awe listening to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that comes my own appreciation, and then having my sons and my wife enjoy that aspect and learn on their own and formulate those decisions on their own. Because for those kids that they were going to school with, that's their first interaction too with someone from outside. And so in totality, I'm using basketball as this tool. So when we were there in 2011, the Arab Spring uprising occurs.
Okay.
Wow.
And it's not against us as Americans. It's themselves, the monarchies. And they believe they have this voice, and they want to have this voice to say something. And it goes awry. There's shootings, there's highs and lows. At one point, they think they're going to have this voice, this democracy. And yet on the other side, you got 250 years of monarchy. There's no chance that's going to happen. And so Saudi Arabia comes in, invades, puts us in martial law. And now it's real. There are weapons on the street. There are tanks. There are things that are totally there, but it's not against us. It's their own political ambitions. Well, meanwhile, when we leave the country, because it's now shut down, et cetera, the State Department says your kids have written their college essays. And it was absolutely true. From their own eyes, they could see what the struggle for freedom was on their own.
Wow.
How does this
relate? Amazing lesson.
How does this relate now to basketball? Well, because my concept is still, it's a tool. It's a tool to get an education.
Right.
I'm using it, yes, to provide for my family, but it's not wealth and riches that were coming out of it. It was this enrichment that was going inside of them. From how do you view now when you're in class? So my oldest son attended USC. And sure enough, that part of his curriculum came up one day, and a professor mentioned something about the Arab Spring. And he raised his hand. He goes, "That's not how I remember it."
Wow.
It totally changed.
Wow.
That direction. That professor was so profound in the fact that he could say, "Then tell us from your own perspective."
Amazing.
Because I was on the ground. I was a child then. and
Right.
then that's the evolution. That's what I
That's what
wanted.
college should be too. That's it. When you're in
Right.
college, you're doing that, having the opinion and all that is great. Like you come up with this concept of your next play. Where did that come about?
So, well, you take your shot, you make your next play. It's kind of a synonym in of life. A little bit of if you don't take your shot, what are you going to do? Lots of people say that. The hardest thing for me, Tony, was everybody says write a book. Oh my God, is that hard to do, man?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the still to this day is one of the hardest things I've ever done because
They telling
I'm
me to
not
write a book right now, Coach. They telling me, Tony, you need to write a book, Coach.
Of course.
try
Of
it,
course.
brother.
Of
You'll
course.
get a couple sentences in, and then you'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing, dude. I don't even
Right.
know why I'm doing this. I don't know how do I even begin? What do I say? And then it transforms once you've gotten a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Then it totally transforms to what you thought it was. And so that was my message was like, can this not apply to basketball? Can this be to any simple reader say, take a shot, man. Go ahead, take a shot at something. And what's next? Because there's always next play in the game of basketball. They always, if you stay in that phase one of
Yep.
there are 3 phases of human performance. Phase 1 is constantly going, next play, it's all right. I made a mistake.
Right.
I'm learning. I'm going. Phase 2 is when they go, it's not my fault. It's Val's fault.
Right.
It's yours. Coach Tony, man, you can't draw a play right.
Right.
And they start blaming. And then phase 3 is I quit. That's when they stop running.
Right.
And that happens all game long.
And the book is called Take Your Shot, right? Take your shot,
make your play.
Make your play.
Yeah, and it
Coach
was
John. Yeah, go
it
ahead.
was just about me just trying at that point in time was just trying to develop something to hopefully what I was trying to do is just inspire somebody else, not only in basketball, because you never know what a kind word is going to be. You
Right.
never know what it means to be on a subway and give up your seat. You just never know what that person is going through somewhere else. Just saying hello. The amount of times I've said hello to somebody has led to some wonderful, wonderful stories.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what their story is. Had no idea who they are. Turns out they're like these mega moguls of people, fantastic. And people go, wow, you're so lucky. How do you get on? Because I say hi.
Very simple.
I don't have to speak the language. I just have to be relatable. And, if we wanted to talk trash amongst all 4 of us, I can dive in there, man. I can go into that world easily. But if we also wanted to transform and go educational and try something transformational, I can change directions in that direction too.
Right.
But I'm curious about everything. I don't want to just be known as just, hey, you're just a basketball coach. There's no chance I'm just that. It's what I do.
And the name of the book is called Take Your Shot, Make Your Play.
And
it's available at your website /shop. And it's telling people that they need to consider some of the wonderful things you've said to us tonight to be transformational rather than transactional. Certainly, that's an amazing philosophy. Oftentimes, too many extremes, right? We don't know what to do, and we certainly are happy and thankful that you had the time to come out and talk with us, especially given the time change.
time difference.
Coach,
I had a quick question before we disappear.
go right ahead. Go right ahead.
So the difference, Coach, and coaching, I'm assuming overseas and here, what's been that thing that stood out for you? And I'll end with that.
Obviously there's the cultural side of things, right? So every nation, every country believes that their brand of basketball is the best. And so they didn't invent the game, but that's the nationalism, so that exists everywhere. The other are figuring out much around the world is all about yes and no, never about there's another solution. Think outside the box for whatever reason you could think of. That's what I find some rigidity in a lot of societies, where it's just a simple no. You can't do that. Well, why not? Of course we can. Well, let's find a way. And that's the difficulty. So much of the time for me is I don't want to I want to be who I am. I don't want to just shake your hand. I want to finish with a hug. 'Cause that's who I am. I want to make fun of life. I want to laugh. I want to go to dinner and laugh. I don't want to talk about business that'll eventually maybe come. But you have to have the old school tradition of, are we friends first? Or we have a relationship? In a lot of places in the rest of the world, Miss Johnson, that doesn't exist. It's just rigidity. And that's traditional based. And so it's not to say that it's right or wrong. It's just not where I believe it's from my own aspect. I like to figure out, there's always a solution, because they'll want that very same dilemma will be had as a basketball coach. What do I do? Do I just say we don't have enough talent? It's the easy way out. How do I figure out a solution? How do I play 4 little guys at one time? How do I figure out all this? So what do I do if these guys are in foul trouble and we're out of the game? Quit? No. It's the same thing. Just keep figuring out solutions. And then afterwards, now you got to manage the ego. Right. And everybody blaming somebody. Well, I've been around enough to say that it's me. It falls on me. It's fine. Because praise and criticism, they're just imposters. The same person that heaps praise on me is going to simply backstab you when things don't go their way.
Wow.
So that's part of everywhere you go. There's someone who's watching the podcast and says, I like it, but then they don't like it. And that's great.
Well, if you don't like it, you ain't got to watch.
I'll tell you. Well, Coach, I tell you what, man, it's only one thing I got to ask you, something that me and Mike was talking about right before you came on. And as a coach, and you kind of alluded to it in your conversation, we were talking about Coach Lovie Smith down in Houston getting that 1-year opportunity. And all of a sudden they brought him in, not necessarily to win. This is the second year in a row back to back that a minority coach has been fired. Do you see that a lot? Especially in the basketball side of the house?
Yeah, international basketball is all about 1-year contracts. And but a long time ago, Coach Rick Pitino told me that, if you consider yourself on a day-to-day contract, because what did you do today will help you figure out, are you comfortable with the decisions that you're eventually come down the road? They're out of your control. But what's in your control is what you did today. Okay. That concept really helps because in coaching professional basketball or any sport, all it takes is someone to say, that's it. We lost, fire them. And it's because of it's called cause, just because. And when I was at Oregon State University, the head coach is the only one that's protected. Everybody else is on that same cause. You can be fired just because. All right. Wow. Now, professional basketball is the exact same thing. You don't win, immediately something happens. If the totality of the situation doesn't think about, like, let's say 60 games, the overall season. Right. Let's take into account injuries. Let's take into account talent. It does play a significant role, salary structure, all these things. But ultimately, we're hired to be fired. Eventually, I heard that when I was growing up. I heard that as a young coach when I was coming up. The longer you're in it, something's going to happen, and it does. But it's really hard to deal with. There's no one, Tony, that's going to be harder on you than yourself.
Right.
To be quite honest, in any of these industries, no one's going to criticize you worse than you are going to do yourself. So why am I going to listen to that dude who's making some reference? Who's probably never even been in this endeavor. Because to an athlete, it's a gladiator syndrome. You're walking into an arena. You know, it's not like everybody wants you to win. You know, it's hostile. As a coach, the hot seat is hot for a reason, man. It's amazing to make suggestions. They don't have consequences. You're not making decisions. Decisions are different than suggestions. You know, I think you should do this. I think you should run that. I think you should play him. No. When the moment is there, that's the decision that coach makes, and they live with it more so than an athlete. An athlete can just walk away from it. A fan can even walk away from it. The coach lives with this thing all day, all night, the whole time, because it's contemplating what they could do differently that may have had a different outcome. And that's why it's a lonely business. I mean, but every single coach in the world that I've ever spoken to, that's in 6th grade to soccer to basketball are all dealing with the same thing, just a different level of athlete. And we go through this mental side of the game where, to be quite honest, you know, earlier in this part of this half of this year, I was in a mental state that was tough because I have no assistant coach. And I was depressed because I kept thinking, like, I cannot get to them. I cannot change this. I don't understand what's wrong. Why aren't the concepts not going? And see, all I was doing, I needed to ask myself a better question, you know, because I was asking myself, I don't know why we're not winning. And your mind comes up with, well, because of this, because of that. But if I ask myself a better question, like, what can I do to win? Then your mind starts to find solutions that way too. Or at least other things to try.
All right, when me, Val, and Mike go get on the bench and come be your new assistant coaches in Japan.
Yeah, man, but
I would love your philosophy. I mean,
you know, all three of you, man, let's roll, baby. Put you on the bench, all three of you, man. Y'all got an opinion.
You know, I love your philosophy. I love what you are saying and why you're saying it. And if you didn't catch it, because I was on mute on purpose, I was catching the names. You hear dropping names. Coach Patino told me, it's like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. All right. And who else has been advising you in your journey? I mean, you're a certain
100% absolutely lucky. 100%. I guess
there's no doubt, right?
The coach that probably had the most significant impact on me was Coach John Wooden, and it was because I was
greatest college basketball coach ever. Go right ahead. Tell us more.
I was young. I was leading. You know, I was up and coming as a college player, and at that time, college players, you just went searching for as many things as possible to earn income, and so you became a counselor at whatever basketball camp you could. I got this lucky chance to be a counselor at John Wooden's camp, and I froze. Wow. And I would watch him walk, and I just would stop because I'm like, there goes God, you know. Watch, I can't even talk to him, and he would say hi to me, and I didn't know what to say. And then he started being this comedian with me, like, you know, you probably can shoot the ball a little better than you can, you know, making fun of the fact that I could make baskets, right? And I was like, oh my God, he's got this comedy side to him. This is God talking to me, you know? So we immediately fast forwarded our relationship really quick to the fact that he allowed me to take him home and go into his house. And I learned the most valuable lesson I think I've ever learned in my life. Here is the winner of so much. And he said, you know, they don't remember 17 years when I lost all the time. They only remember the 10 national championships.
Wow.
And then he said, come to my house, go to his house. And these are the times when there's an answering machine, and it is constantly ringing.
Okay.
And it is going on and on. And I'm just a high school coach at this time. And I'm saying to him, you know, coach, you know, don't you want to answer that? You know? And he's like, I'll get to them. You are my guest. You are in front of me. I will always have time for who is ever in front of me. And I will answer that. It was the White House at one point. And he didn't drop it. Not 1 second.
Wow.
And so I never forgot that, because he said, the people that say they're the most busiest are not really telling you the truth. There's always time you can carve out for someone.
Sure.
And I never forgot that lesson, man. And that's him, you know. So he was telling me, don't be so busy that you can't talk to some kid. Don't be that guy. So that's me, man. So
we
that's why I
appreciate
said,
you, Coach.
Yeah.
I want to be part of your guys' tribe, man, forever, man. You guys want to let's talk on the regular, baby.
Oh, he wants to be transformational, not transactional, guys.
There you go.
Take your shot, make your play. We hear that there's another book in the works. So I know you said it was hard to write this one, but when the second one comes, Coach, we would love to have you back.
Yeah, that one's a totally different story, Val. That one is about my quest to go search for my my birth parents as I was given up for adoption. I went searching for them.
Right. That sounds like
whole
fascinating.
new sentimental feeling.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds like a fascinating story. We'd love to have you back with that. But thank you so very much. And he's already in Wednesday, guys.
Yeah. He said that's the one good thing about we can say about you, Coach.
So I was asking you, man. You want to know the future? I can tell you the story, man.
Tell us the future already, man.
Tell us the future. My goodness.
Yeah.
Congratulate my Golden State Warriors for winning the 2023-2024.
Don't get us started, John. Don't get us started, Coach.
Here we go.
Hey, well, thank you very much. I know you gotta get ready for practice here in a few hours, and appreciate your time. And again, Val and Mike, I got a chance to get with Coach. Been knowing him for about 15, 17 years. When I first got in, what he's telling you is so true, because I remember the first time I went to him and I was asking him about an opportunity. And he said, what about the opportunity? You come tell me what you want to do and what you're trying to do, then I can help from there. Don't ask me this and that. And it may turn my situation around. And now, 21 years later now, I'm a college coach, been on the sideline for 20, and got an AAU program that's been running for 20 years. And I've been keeping in touch with him throughout that time, and it's been awesome. And man, big time mentor. Couldn't have one of the better mentors that's helped my career along. And I appreciate you.
Listen, everybody, it's an honor and a pleasure. And please keep in touch with me. I love hearing from all of you guys. And if there's anything I can ever do for any of you, I'm just a phone call away, or text, or social media, my man.
I got you.
I believe you. Wow.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you.
Okay, guys. Thank you for the honor. I really appreciate
it.
Thank
you, sir.
Thank
you. Oh, my gosh. Coach, you always bring great guests. Doesn't he, Michael? Michael, he always brings great guests.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I gotta talk to him all the time.
Yeah.
I told you, Val, Mike, we got to get this up. And by the way, I don't think I said it tonight. My motto: hit the subscribe button. We're getting there. Push these numbers up. We're getting there. And for those who are just coming in, these next few weeks are gonna get even hotter with the guests I got coming in. Huge. I got some women coming in on your side, Val. So you're gonna be leading some questions, because I got some. We coming up to Heart Month. And by the way, Mike and Val, I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't until someone mentioned it to me the other day. Do you know that this is the year of the women?
It is.
I know it's the year of the rabbit.
Wait,
I do know that.
I found out. But yeah, so supposedly,
Lunar New Year coming up. Yep.
Supposedly sports related, this is the year of the women. And again, couldn't have that better happen with the young lady, Mr. Price at Fisk University, starting that off and then some. So I'm working on a big deal with a huge panel of guests that's going to suffice that. So I love it. But we just cracked. We just getting it started, baby. January, Mike, Val, January.
And so, Coach, when we thank you so very much. Always, we're excited, and Coach John was excellent. And I when he finishes his next book, we really would like to have him back. Thank you, Kevin, in Brooklyn, and putting the information. If you'd like his book that he currently has out, Take Your Shot. Is that correct, Michael?
Take your shot, make your play.
Take
Exactly
your
right.
shot, make your play. It's available on his website. And thank you so very much, Coach. What's your word for us?
Hey, man, I love you guys. And the 22 is dead. I went to the funeral for 2022, and now I had a birth for 2023. We're going to get it in. But my words is, love you two guys, fam, but I'm out.
He's out. Oh my
Hey,
gosh. Yay. Oh my
hey,
goodness. Michael.
valid
Another
voice,
great
valid
show.
voice. Yes, yes, yes,
So,
yes.
Michael, I have a
I
question.
certainly learned a whole lot. That
I
was quite an education, and I'm
I
certainly happy to
know.
have been here. Wow, you can't miss any episode of Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesday. You never know what you miss.
You never know what
Wow.
you might get. So, hey, Michael, I have a quick question for you real quick.
Yes.
Uh we missed you last Wednesday.
I miss you too.
So
I
is it gonna happen
miss
tomorrow?
you. I miss you.
Will we see you
Possibly,
tomorrow?
possibly,
Okay,
possibly.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Hashtag Wamble Wednesdays is back. It'll be the first episode of the year. Hashtag
We'll
Wamble
talk
Wednesdays.
about
Will
some
you talk about?
history. We'll talk about some things that don't get talked about. We alluded to a little bit of it earlier in our episode tonight with you and I and Coach Tony kind of coming on a little bit early. So
Okay.
we'll delve a little bit more into that. And since tomorrow is Wednesday interludes, what's going on, Val?
Well, I will definitely be doing a little chat about Dr. King and his contribution to Chicago. So we talked about that. And of course, you guys will hear from Coach John. Michael's going to train me on how to say the last name. Michael, you're muted, Michael. Michael, you're muted. He's
Do
muted.
not throw me under the bus. Don't throw me under it right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So anyway, we will be having just because we're coming up on Dr. King's holiday this coming Monday, and just so to honor that, and so that's us, a Pure Lighthouse production. Guys, go ahead and subscribe. I see a few people already did. We are available on the YouTube channel, the Facebook group, our private group. I saw Barbara. I saw a bunch of folks over there as well. We're also in LinkedIn under Pure Lighthouse Media. And then, of course, because of Mark Lee, we are available on Pod TV Roku channel. Oh, I'm so excited. Michael, what's your name?
My name is not Val the Voice, but yours is, and this has been Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesday with Val the Voice Johnson. Thank you so much for everything and for subscribing.
I know. So, guys, we'll be back next week, and we're out. Peace.